Welcome back, everybody. This is gonna be a little bit of a different video. Obviously, there's no gameplay on the screen, so uh, we're gonna be doing quarterback rankings. As you can see here, uh, you know, there's obviously gonna be some controversy, between who's starting, like the Raiders. Um, Kirk Cousins probably will start for the beginning of the season first, 3 games, something like that, and then they'll have Fernando Mendoza take over because it's kind of sounding like he's way ahead of what a rookie should be. Um, Obviously we have the expected starter in Minnesota being Kyler Murray instead of JJ McCarthy. But we also have some, you know, duels here with like Penix and Tua, along with Deshaun Watson, who's expected to be the starter, but um, Shador's also in the mix. So we can, see. And oddly enough, Jacoby Brisket is holding out, but that's his decision, whatever. So, let's just get into this, I guess. I guess you can start with Jackson Dart, who I guess is just no comment. um, I guess right now, he's an average starter. He's not anything particularly special. He looks like he might be able to develop, but I guess we'll see. He has an improved offensive line this year with the rookie tackle coming in, and obviously one of the best tackles in the league over on the left side. So we shall see how that offensive line holds up. But um, yeah, I mean, I guess there's not much to say about Jackson Dart. He's going into his sophomore year, second year. Um, and it's kind of like, you know, see if what he showed us last year is actually going to be proven right, or if he's just going to fizzle out. Trevor Lawrence is a very interesting one because he finally started, actually showing that he can play football rather than just having a lot of potential. But at the same time, is he like really like a top 10 player? I'm kind of not convinced. I feel like we'd have to see another season of Trevor Lawrence before. I feel like he's like right on the fringes though, probably like 11, 12, somewhere in there. Whereas compared to Jackson Dart, he's probably, further down. Um, yeah, I mean, I feel like Trevor Lawrence is like right there, like right on the fringes, but he's just not a top 10 player yet at his position, as compared to Brock Purdy, I feel like he's in the exact same boat. Same, he's not a top 10 player at his position, but he's also very clearly, probably not in that mid-range tier as like, the same as Jackson Dart is. Um, so who knows if I get another one, we'll probably have to make a new category. Um, Bo Nix, I feel like is the most prototypical like average quarterback. Like he's not gonna raise the ceiling of a team. He's not gonna, you know, lose games for them or anything. Like I feel like he's like the most perfectly average quarterback in the league right now. Like he's exactly like the 16th best quarterback in the league. Um, I feel like he does have the potential to get to like a top 10 conversations later on in his career. But at the same time, he's carried by one of the best offensive lines in the league, and he's not a very quick decision maker. And I feel like that's like the big knock on him right now. I feel like he holds the ball for too long and he just like doesn't know what to do with it exactly. You can see like when he was making good decisions, quick decisions, like later in the game where he doesn't have much time to think about and process this, and he just is relying on his talent. He's a much better quarterback down late in the stretches compared to like earlier in the games where he's trying to process the whole field. So I feel like as long as he can develop and he can just start relying a bit more on his talent, then he can totally jump up into the tiers of being like a top 10 quarterback and stuff like that. Um, Here we go. Dak Prescott. I feel like Dak Prescott's solidly, in our top 10 tier, first guy up here. Is he like a top five candidate? No. Does this scheme help him out with like a good passing game, having CD and George Pickens now? Yes, but I do feel like he's still a top 10 quarterback, probably like ninth, eighth best quarterback in the league, somewhere in there. But see a lot of like MVP conversations, which does make sense because the scheme does have him passing a lot and having George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. Obviously, there's going to be some yak yardage, or no, rack yardage. Yeah, run after catch. Um, but that's like I just don't feel like he's gonna ever win the MVP because I don't know if he's a quarterback on the level of Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, um, Josh Allen, those guys at the very elite tier. But I do feel like he's solidly in our top 10. Um, dude, dude, Jordan Love is just, I just can't tell with this guy. Sometimes he looks like a top 10 quarterback, and other times it's like he doesn't even look like he should be starting. Um, I will say that there's more instances of him looking like a good top 10, franchise quarterback, but it's like, how can we really, dude, honestly, I think I'm gonna have to just make another tier because these four guys, or like particularly Lawrence, Purdy, and Love, are obviously, better than Dart in them. But oh my gosh. Because again, he's like right on the fringes. I feel like he just needs to put it all together. Like he'll have games where he's really good at passing, or really good at running, or really good at not turning the ball over. But I just feel like he's not consistent enough on a game-to-game basis, you know? So honestly, I might just have to make another freaking tier where it's like what, like top 16, and then bottom 16. Oh goodness. Yeah, I'm just gonna let's just change this right now. So let's go top 16, um, bottom 16, and then we can go like what? Bottom, we should capitalize this. Bottom, what, like third-ish of the league, like 24, I guess, of the league, 26, somewhere in there, right? Yeah, let's just keep it 24. So I feel like he would be somewhere in like 18 range, somewhere in there, whereas these guys would be solidly like, like a good quarterback that you would want on your team. As compared to like Jackson Dart still has to show a little bit more as, he's only had 1 year under his belt. He's got to learn to protect himself though, just saying. Baker Mayfield, I mean, he looked like a top five MVP quarterback first like 3 weeks of the season and then just fell off a cliff. I mean, I don't even think he's in the top 10 anymore. Like, it was that hard of a fall, dude. It was insane. Like, I was expecting Bucks to be like this amazing team with Ibuka, which as a rookie was showing out. Like I don't, it was insane what he was doing as a rookie, but then he just stopped. I'm pretty sure he got like that injury and then he just stopped. I don't even know. He just didn't come back the same, I guess. But hopefully the second year they can be a little bit more consistent with that tandem, and you know, obviously Baker can jump into that top 10 and Ibuka can start rising the ranks to being an elite wide receiver. Um, Fernando Mendoza. Obviously, he's a rookie, hasn't shown anything quite yet, so it's kind of hard to put him like a top 16, bottom 16, like in a true category. I think I just have to default it into the bottom 24 for now because he hasn't shown anything. There's no game, there's no NFL film on him. I do feel like he has the potential to be a really good starting quarterback in this league. I mean, yeah, apparently it looks like he has the ethic, and he does look like he's learning behind Kirk, although I'm not sure how good of a mentor Kirk is. Um, but I do really like Jackson Dart. I do really like Fernando Mendoza a lot as a quarterback prospect. I'm surprised he went one because like as a prospect coming out of college, he's no, Caleb Williams or anything like that. But it the Raiders needed a quarterback, so like you could convince them to trade down, but then somebody's just gonna take him at number one. He was clearly the best quarterback prospect on the board, so I do understand why he went one. He's just not the best prospect coming out of college that we've um, seen in recent memories because we've been kind of spoiled with Williams and Joe Burrow and um, Bryce Young even looked really good coming out of college. Obviously, that hasn't translated as much into the NFL, but still. Um, CJ Stroud, where do I even begin, dude? Oh my goodness! Like his rookie year looked freaking amazing, and then just after that, just nothing. He's gotten like worse every season. Which how? How is that even possible? Aren't you supposed to get better as you get adjusted to the NFL? I don't even know what to say. I feel like right now he's just like a bottom 16 candidate because like you would clearly want like all of these guys ranked above him on your team more than you would want CJ Stroud on your team. But like I think that rookie year was just it was incredible. But he's just taken so many steps step backs. It's like, wow, why? What is going wrong in this process? From like, what are you doing differently from that rookie here? I don't even know. Jared Goff. Jared Goff is an interesting one. I think I'm gonna put him in the top 10. I do feel like he's like probably the 10th best quarterback, ninth best quarterback. Um, it's like for so long he was just like this system quarterback. Like can he really do stuff outside of Ben's system? After he got hired as the Bears head coach coming from the Lions OC. But like this last year, I feel like he's finally shown. Like obviously they didn't make the playoffs. It wasn't as great of a year as he could have had. But it's not like he took like that massive step back because the OC changed. So I do feel like he's like probably like the 10th best quarterback somewhere in there. Um, but like it feels weird putting him up there. Like it feels strange. Like something's wrong about putting him up there, but I just can't. Like, can you really say anything against putting him up there? So it feels weird. Um, Drake May, as much as it pains me because I'm not a Drake May believer, he is a top 10 quarterback. I don't know about like all this top five, top three conversations, best in the league. I don't know about that. I feel like it takes two seasons, two great seasons back to back in order to prove that you're probably the best in your position. You're top three, whatever. But I do feel like he's probably like that sixth best quarterback right now, seventh best quarterback somewhere like at the very top of tier, the top 10 tier. I know people are probably aren't gonna like that I rank him that low, but I just feel like one great, like almost you can go into there and you can have a lot of one hit wonders in the NFL. It's when you put it two seasons back to back together. That's what stands out. These guys are from being elite to just being one hit wonder. Um, but yeah. Uh, okay, where do I rank Cam, dude? Oh goodness gracious, I feel like he's gonna be like that the top of he's got to be like the 17th best quarterback. Dude, he's got to be like towards the top of this bottom 16th here because he showed a lot during his rookie season. Obviously, there were some struggles, but at the same time, he had one of the worst offensive lines in the league. What was it like? Ranked the second worst, only behind the Chargers, right? He took like the second most sacks in the league or something like that. Maybe third. He was up there. I know it was like Justin Herbert, Drake May, and Cam taking the most sacks this last season. Um, who knows? I could be totally lying about that, but I'm pretty sure that's right. Um, but I feel like he showed a lot. Like he showed that he could hack it, but he has no help around him. There's absolutely nobody on that offense that can even remotely help him. Like why they paid all that money to that tackle is insane to me. Like he did absolutely nothing. Everybody knew he was gonna do absolutely nothing. They were the only ones to believe that he was worth that amount of money. But it was like he needs help. Okay, that's the baseline of it. Is he needs help desperately if you want him to succeed because he looks good, but he's never gonna look great if he has nobody that can help him. Oh goodness. Okay, Kyler. Where do I rank Kyler, dude? Oh my goodness. Because he's got to be in this bottom 16 tier too, right? He has had seasons where he looks like he can hack it, probably like 10th best quarterback in the league, somewhere in there. But then at the same time, he has seasons where he's like not playing at all due to injury, or he's playing very limited amount of games, or he's just sucking in the games that he is in. And so it's like, what can you do with him? He has all this potential. Of course, there's an acronym of how short he is and his height and stuff like that. But I don't feel like that's that much of an issue when obviously he's a mobile quarterback, so that helps him quite a bit. If he was like a pocket passer, then obviously the height would be more of an issue. But I feel like it. I feel like this next season is going to be very important to him because it's going to kind of lock him into like, is he going to get more chances of being a starter, or is he going to be relegated to that backup role? Which the backup role is nothing Scott. They're in millions of dollars just holding a clipboard, which is an amazing job. Who wouldn't want that job? But like he's got all this potential, but he just can't seem to put it together. Obviously there's the COD story to where he was spending all his time on COD and not studying the playbook and all this and that. And he had that season where they started off like what, like 9-0, and then they just had that collapse because of what was it, the Steelers game, something like that. But it's like I just don't think you can confidently put him into the the top half of the league anymore. So he's gonna have to stay in the bottom 16. Shock. Where? I don't think he's a top 16 prospect yet, but he's getting up there, dude. I was not a believer in Shaq. I thought they should have wrote it out with their other quarterback, but I don't know. He's kind of looking like he may be able to hack it. I may get proven wrong once again with this, with the, going against him, but picking against his quarterback. But dude, he's actually kind of looking like they may have found their guy. Obviously, the issue with him was that he was older coming out of college. He spent a lot of time in college. He was like, what, 24, 25 coming out of college? But I mean, he's kind of looking like it was the right decision to start him over Spencer Rattler. But I don't think, obviously, there was not a lot of help on the offense. They have one of the better centers in the league. They have Alvin Kamara back there, who's, still decent, given his age. Olave, his injury concerns all the time. He's the only guy in like that offense that has to be worried about, and they continuously send him on in breaking routes, getting him hospitalized, bro. But I mean, I feel like if they can get him like a solid interior, offensive line, exterior offensive line, they can get him some playmakers. They brought in Travis Etienne to hopefully help in that. Then he'll be able to like. I don't think he'll ever be like probably like a top 10 quarterback. I do feel like he'll be like a guy that won't lose you games though. But then again, he's been proving me wrong so far, so he might as well prove me wrong again. Oh my goodness, Sam Darnold. I feel like this guy is probably like he's probably got to be in the last guy in that top 16 tier, right? Because he sucked for so long. He was seeing ghosts on the Jets, but he goes to Minnesota. He has stops in Carolina first and stuff, and San Francisco, I'm pretty sure. But then he gets to Minnesota. JJ McCarthy gets hurt, and he gets thrown in as a starter. And he looks amazing. He balls out, gets his contract in Seattle, and then they go and win the Super Bowl. So it's like that fast of a turnaround for him is incredible to see. And same thing with Baker. They were in the same thing. They were given up on by the franchise. They were traded away. They were released. But then they have these uh renaissance. Like for Baker was in LA with the Rams, and Sam Darnold was in Minnesota. But just I just don't think he'll ever be like an elite quarterback here. But who knows what this guy's potential is? Because I mean, he looked amazing again, this last season. He didn't look fantastic, where you can confidently put him into the top 10 tier, but he did look really freaking good. So I think he's got to be in our top 16 tier as well. Okay, Malik Willis. Where do I even rank this guy? He's got to be somewhere right here, right? I mean, he might even be like the first guy out, honestly. I don't even you don't see a lot from him. He showed flashes that he could be a starter, have some potential, but at the same time, it's like, how much trust do you really have in a guy that was like what a third round pick, something like that, right? And he spent a lot of time behind, Jordan Love, learning behind a good uh coach. But I mean, that Dolphins franchise is just terrible. They have no playmakers on the offense outside of, Achan. And the offensive line isn't going to be great. Is he really going to be able to do something with that roster? He's got no help over there. So I feel like he's got to go in the bottom 24. As much as I would like to put him in the top, bottom 16 candidate, but he's got to be in this bottom 24. Daniel Jones. Where do I even start with this? This guy's got to be the most polarizing player because he on the Colts this last season. He looked amazing up until that injury and then the whole franchise collapsed. But I mean, all the seasons, the years before that in New York were just not great. He had one okay season in which he then got paid a massive bag for whatever reason, which led to his head coach getting fired and totally new staff and everything. It's just like, is he gonna be able to do it again? There's no chance he's gonna be able to do it again, coming off of a serious injury, right? But dude, you never freaking know, I guess. Oh my God. I mean, he's got to be a candidate for the top 16, but like, You you can't say that you would prefer Daniel Jones over any of those other guys, right? So he's got to be like 17, probably like the first one out. I think I keep saying them, but I mean, this guy, he's, you gotta, I don't even know. I don't even know. He's gonna stay in the bottom 16. He's gonna stay in the bottom 16. Okay, yeah, he's staying there. Bryce Young. He's shown flashes finally. He's finally showing flashes, but is it good enough to put him in the top 16 tier? Or is he gonna be like almost the first one out, kind of like Daniel Jones to go, get relegated into bottom 24? I think as of right now, he'll probably can stay right there. He's shown flashes. He was super inconsistent. It was really bad to start off the season. Kept getting benched between him and Andy Dalton of all people. Um, but I feel like he's finally starting to put it together. He's got a solid wide receiving group. Now that he has Tet in there, and the offensive line is finally starting to come along. Although they massively overpaid for some of their players, but that's a totally different issue. So I feel like he deserves to be, towards the bottom of this tier, but he deserves to be in this tier. So I feel fine putting Bryce Young into this tier. Um, okay, last year's MVP. So why do we? I feel like he's got to be like the third best quarterback in the league, right? If not, he's got to go top 10 at least, or top five at least, right? I feel like he's got to be because there's already two guys. We might as well just get it over with and talk about them. I feel like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are probably some of the better quarterbacks in the league. I feel like it goes Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Matthew Stafford. I feel like up until this year, it was 1A, 1B with Josh and Lamar. In my opinion, I know some people don't particularly agree with that, but in my opinion, I feel like the thing that differentiated in this last year though is Lamar just being hurt all the time. He just could not get it going, which led to them ultimately missing the playoffs due to the miss of a kicker. But like I feel like Josh Allen has got to be a number one best quarterback in the league as of right now. Lamar Jackson is close behind because he has that dual threat ability. He can both pass and he can run. Um, and then I feel like Matthew Stafford's going to be third. Just he won the MVP. The scheme obviously favors him. They're pretty pass heavy. Offense with Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua over there, and they run a lot of tight end sets, which it kind of looks like the NFL is trending towards now. Rather than the spreads, offenses and stuff like that. So I feel like he's got to be the third best quarterback, right? I mean, who else could you put up there besides him firmly into the third place? I mean, he's coming off his MVP year. He's what, like 38 at this point? Who knows how many years he have left in him? You know, French has drafted a quarterback this year. He'll probably sit behind him for what? Guessing 2 years, something like that, 3 years max. But it's gonna be his franchise until he retires. It's gonna be his team. They're gonna depend on him to make all the passes, to make all the plays. So I feel like the third place is probably the best spot for him. Okay, both of these guys. I feel like both of them have got to go down here, right? Like Tua got paid this massive bag for I don't even know what reason. He was like he had 1 year where he could be considered, on the fringes of being a top 10. But outside of that, he has not looked great. Obviously, the injury concerns suck for him, all the concussions and stuff. Um, but he just doesn't look like his old self, like his college self, where he was making all the passes, making all the plays. He was able to scramble out of the pocket and extend plays and get first downs and do all this stuff. So I don't know. I feel like he's got to be bottom 24. And then to have like a quarterback room of like the two left-handed quarterbacks in this league is kind of crazy. Personally, I feel like they should give Penix a chance to start again and then go to Tua if he's, really bad. I'm pretty sure the betting market has Tua as the favorite to start the season. So we'll have to see who's officially named the week one starter. But who did they hire this year? Kevin Stefanski, right? The Browns head coach. So we'll see when he ends up running with those two. I mean, they're not great quarterback options. They're definitely not the worst in the league, but We would definitely prefer somebody else. Um, Geno Smith. Geno Smith has got to go into this bottom tier, right? I mean, like, I was, I mean, I had, I had a lot of money on this guy's resurgence when he first got named Seattle's starter. Okay, I totally called him being able to bounce back, but I mean, he's just gotten worse and worse and worse, and then he gets relegated to the Jets. Like, oh Lord, I don't think this guy's gonna be able to do much of anything. You know, he's definitely not the quarterback you'd prefer. Like the Jets are honestly probably just buying their time and hoping to land, an Archer Manning, whoever it is, and is able to differentiate themselves as the number one, quarterback prospect in next year's draft, which looks to be pretty good. But at the same time, you're kind of hesitant because not all of them look great. So we'll see what it end up doing, this year with him as at the realm. That sounded weird. Um, but they'll probably be in competition to have the number one overall pick and hopefully select the quarterback of the future. That will hopefully work out. Aaron Rodgers, like at this point, where do you put him in? Obviously at one point in his career, he was, you know, the best quarterback in the league, up there with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, and he's what is it? The NFL put out a graphic that he's like the highest earner in NFL history, right? So it's like it's hard to see him like down here, but it's kind of like well deserved because he's not been playing great over the past couple seasons, and then being in Pittsburgh, I'm sure has not helped. But it's hard to put him like in the bottom 16 tier because he's Aaron Rodgers. I feel like it's got to be though. He's got to be in this bottom tier. Yeah, he'll probably be our last guy in this bottom tier. I feel pretty comfortable saying that. Jacoby Brissett, I feel like he's got to be in this very last tier because I mean, his stats look pretty decent for what he was starting, but at the same time, I don't think they're I don't think they were ever up with him in the game, Constantly passing in order to try and get back in the game. There was no time for the run game. So stats are kind of inflated. He threw a lot because they was down so much in most of the games. I don't think they're even favored for a game this year. I mean, their schedule is like the hardest in the league and they sucked this last season. So I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, it's just are they gonna win a game? Like they legitimately have concerns for going 0 and 17. 17 games without a single win is gonna be insane. Like they play the Jets, who they might beat, but like who are you gonna trust more? I mean, on the bright side, they play each other, so there's no way that the Jets walk away without an interception this year, right? I don't know, dude. I feel like bottom 24 is very well deserved. He's holding out as of right now, but I mean, it's gonna be the only time he starts and gets a chance to earn starter money, so might as well, right? Who else is gonna start for them? Carson Beck. Okay, these two guys. I feel like whoever they decide on is gonna be a bottom 24. Like at one point, Deshaun Watson was one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and then obviously his whole scandal came out, and then the Browns still took a chance on him, traded away all that draft capital, and gave him the largest guaranteed contract in NFL history, and it has not worked out. It has not worked out in the slightest. Shador looks like he's has potential to become a starter in this league. He looked decent. Obviously, there's a lot of rookie mistakes. It didn't look great, but he didn't look horrendous, I guess. So we'll see who they end up going. I'm pretty sure the odds are on Deshaun Watson starting the season, which he probably should. And then if he sucks it up still again continuously, then probably just have to cut him and take the $50 million dead cap and then roll with Shador. Who knows what that franchise is gonna do at that quarterback position? But I guess we'll have to see. Jane Daniels. Oh goodness. Who am I? Like he looked so good his rookie year. Again, just like CJ Stroud. But then this last year was just looked not great when he was able to get on that field and he wasn't able to get on that field at like hardly at all. So I feel like honestly I might put him in the bottom 16 because it feels weird. Like I feel like he should be a top 16 type of guy. but he's when he's out there, he's electric and he can make the plays and he can extend and he can make the passes. But he wasn't looking like the Jaden Daniels that we saw his rookie season. Where they went to the what was it, the conference finals, right? Because they beat Detroit over there in the NFC, and then like it just all came crumbling down for him. The a whole backfield for that Washington team was rattled with injuries with their quarterback and their running back. So I don't even I don't even know where to rank him. Like, do we rank him off of what we saw last year, where he was on the field for like 5 games and wasn't even great in those 5 games, or do we rank him off of his rookie year? I feel like he's gonna. I don't have room in the top 16. I feel like if we're going off of last year, then I would totally rather have him than some of these guys like Purdy and Nix. But like what we saw last year, I would rather go with the consistent play, the more consistent play of Bo Nix and Purdy and Trevor Lawrence and Sam Darnold than I would for what I don't even know what he showed us last year. So I feel like if he can bounce back this year, then he'll probably be a top 16 candidate again. But I feel like as of right now, he's gonna have to go into the bottom 16. Um, okay, I want to leave these three guys for last. So let's talk about these two. I feel like Caleb Williams has played himself into the top 10 conversations, towards towards the end, with Jared Goff, probably interchangeably, 9 and 10 somewhere in there. Um, he looked really good. He looked like he was able to make plays. He needs to get a little bit more consistent while he's in the pocket and not rely too much on his legs outside of the pocket. Because I just feel like a lot of his big plays, a lot of his, if it came from his extensions, But I feel like if he can get a little bit more consistent, making the easy passes, getting through his reads, going from left to right, right to left on the field, I feel like he, now that he's had this same head coach for 2 years, the system's gonna be, better. It's gonna run more fluidly. It's gonna all come together a lot better than what we saw last year, where he was they were relying just like the Broncos on game-winning drives, late quarter, type of stuff. So I do feel like he is probably towards the back end of the top 10 conversations, but I feel like has played himself into the top 10 conversations. He's definitely deserved it. Um, same with same with Jalen. I mean, Hurts, like it's hard because the roster around him is so good to where like if you put him onto a half decent roster, is he going to be able to elevate them? Like, yeah, he has a good extend, ability to extend plays, a good running attack, but offense looked really bad last season as compared to their Super Bowl season where it looked really good. And as a certain amount of it does fall on the offensive coordinator, which they did fire and they got a new one in. But like as the quarterback, you have to be able to do something. That offense did nothing. What what was the meme going around? Where it was run up the middle, deep ball, AJ Brown, and incomplete turnover. Something like that. Like I feel like he has to make better decisions at like when they went on that Super Bowl run. He cut down on his turnovers. He looked like a better quarterback. He was going through his reads. He was processing well, as compared to this last season where it looked like he didn't know what he was doing at times. Where he was kind of just out there and he was relying on his playmakers rather than on himself. So hopefully this year, new OC installs more confidence in the ability of Jalen Hurts to be a good quarterback, um, like he's shown he can be. I just don't think he'll ever be in the top quarterback conversations. I don't think he'll ever be able to reach that height. But I feel like he's definitely a top 10 quarterback. Like you would, if you asked me, would I rather have Jalen Hurts over some of the guys on the bottom like Trevor Lawrence, and I'd probably say yes. So now these guys, this is gonna be very hard to rank because they all like Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has shown that he can be the best quarterback in the league, but at the same time, he's coming into this season on an injury, off a serious injury as well. And the past couple seasons, he's just been turning the ball over a lot, like uncharacteristically. So I don't feel like he's a top three quarterback. I he's got to be a top five. I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes, right? You would definitely rather have him than any of the other guys below him. But like, should we rank him four? Should we rank him five? Or should we rank him six? I feel like that's kind of what we're playing for at this point. Honestly, it might just be a tie for fifth place between these three guys. I like Mahomes, like that roster has just been deteriorating year after year, and they've put more and more and more on him. And I feel like that's why he's trying to do more and more and turning the ball over more and more and more. So I feel like now that they have K9 in the backfield, they're obviously going to limit his scrambling um, this season in order to, not have him injured again, protect him a bit better. So hopefully he, cuts down on turnovers, turns back the clock a little bit, and starts looking like the best quarterback in the league, for that franchise. Um, but I feel like as of right now, he's got to be, in this top five tier and not in the top three. And then Joe Burrow, like obviously the scheme helps, the head coach helps when you're passing it the most in the league, and then obviously on Madden the playbook is only for him to pass. The running backs always do like horrendous and only get 700-800 yards, whereas he throws for like 5,000, even 6,000 yards on occasion. Um, but like at the same time, the best ability is availability. He's continuously hurt because the offensive line is trash, and that team won't put anything around him other than receivers like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Those these three guys are taking up like what was it, like a quarter, a third of their salary cap? Like it's insane. And then you did trade the number 10 overall pick for Dexter Lawrence. So hopefully that defense does get at least marginally better with what is arguably the best defensive tackle in the league joining the team. But at the same time, it's like he's just constantly hurt. So can you really put him into these top three conversations? Like when he's on the field, he looks amazing, but he's only played in like what it was like 2/3 of the game or half of the games that he's you know could have played in. So I just will they be able to go on a Super Bowl run again when he's completely healthy and has a good roster on him? Yes, absolutely. But like, what are the chances of that happening? You know? And then Justin Herbert, I feel like it's missed. Like if you look at his statistics, he's on pace, with some of the best. Like who was it? It was Peyton Manning, right? When the NFL put out that graphic, I think it was the NFL. I don't know. I get a lot of sports stuff on my Instagram feed, but like it's hard to trust him in the playoffs. But in the big moments during the regular season, he's shown he can do it. He has like the most game-winning, go-ahead drives um in the fourth quarter, in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter and overtime, tied with Patrick Mahomes over the past couple of seasons or something like that. So it's like, does he play himself into the top five conversation? Like, I feel like it's hard, but like, I feel like I would take Justin Herbert over at least these guys as of right now. Drake May, me personally, I feel like I would take him over over Drake May, and I would put him, probably tied for fifth, probably not higher than that. Um, I know a lot of people would rather have Drake May over Justin Herbert though. So, you know, again, it's my opinion, so I'm gonna put him where I want, but I do understand a lot of people having him as probably the seventh best behind, all these guys above him, and then Drake May. Um, I feel like these three guys would be tied for fifth place as of this very second for me. So it's just like it's kind of hard, but I feel like he's deserves. Obviously, he's dating Madison Beer. He's what? He's like 6'6". It's all this money. Like great job. But like he needs to get it. I feel like this is gonna be his last season to prove that he can get it done in the playoffs. Like, he has the OC. He has the team offensively around him. Hopefully, that offensive line stays healthy because they were like the worst offensive line in the league last year. I mean, I saw this graphic that like the right tackle was ranked like what, like 40th. The left tackle was ranked like 40 something. The center was ranked like 36th. It's like, how are these guys worse than backups, So hopefully the offensive line, stays healthy. They got a new center in. Hopefully they, you know, don't all die this year, and he's able to prove that he's actually a top five, consistent quarterback in the playoffs and can elevate that team to Super Bowl contention. But we'll have to see. But yeah, that's all of the starting quarterbacks in the league. Um, obviously my opinion, there's going to be disagreements um, that you had, you know, but this is just, I think this is my rankings for the quarterbacks this upcoming season. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next vid.